Right, my lovers, it's 2010 and it's snowing a lot. There is a volcano in a place I can't pronounce throwing a tantrum. The Royal Mile gets an invert and the nation has its first hung parliament for many, many decades. Because claiming to be hung makes you more marketable, right? Oh, welcome to 2010, everybody. We've got just 14 years and then we are up to date in this park. And I can probably go ahead and start the No TMTK park that I did promise you 1,500 subs ago. So anyway, the last couple of years in this park have all been focused on spending money on smaller rides and infrastructure projects rather than coasters. Well, that is about to change because you're about to be hit by 4 in quick succession. And this is where we're starting, the B&M Invert. It's been in the park since I think the 1990 tour. I've just had to leapfrog a couple of episodes because of work and stuff. And look, new computers arrived. Yes, I spoke about this at the end of the last episode. Thanks for watching, by the way. I've gone from 7 FPS to 21 FPS. I don't know if you can tell the quality difference in the game, but there is a massive quality difference. And yeah, this is it. Expensive, but totally worth it. And yes, it does run City Skylines 2. So anyway, enough of my humble brag. Let's talk coasters. Here we are then. This is the tour. This is the station. We're going to come around into the first bend and then into the first lift hill. And of course, it's just your classic B&M lift hill and the swoopy turn lift hill. I've made it slightly wider than perhaps other B&M turnarounds are, but this is kind of because I wanted it to sit like this on the sightline. So that's how I wanted it to be. That's the exact sightline that I wanted. So therefore, it goes. Then of course, it comes into the first classic vertical loop. Of course it would. Why would it not? And then into a 0G roll. Of course it would. Why would it not? And then it comes into an overbanked turnaround and then into a corkscrew. Now this is a park custom corkscrew. This first bit comes from the in-game, and then the last bit comes from custom because I wanted it then to have a continuous roll into this turnaround and then into this airtime hill and into another turnaround. So you're almost doing like a figure of 8. Here it comes, figure of 8, figure of 8. And then you come into the final inversion, which is the 0G roll, but you sort of flip on reverse. So rather than continuing the roll around, you actually flip back the other way. And that's pretty classic of some of these inverts. That's pretty much how they work. And then you come into the final turnaround and then the final helix up into the brake run, and there you go, you complete the course. Pretty simple layout. I don't want it to be any more than this, and that's partly because of timings. I can allow 35 seconds between the train leaving here and the train arriving back at the station. That's roughly about right. It's roughly about the length of Nemesis Inferno, so it feels like it's all good. Theme for this one then, I think is going to be Alpine. I need to play it out and see whether my inspiration actually comes true. But I think it's going to be Alpine because that's kind of what I wanted here. And I've had to remove a load of trees. Anyway, I'm just going to shut up and play. Let's see what happens, right? Hi, you guys. We haven't done a middle part of an episode for a while, so here we go. Here's the middle part of an episode. And let's also, whilst we're here, crack open a couple of classics, because this might not look like much has changed. There's a lot to talk about, and a lot of time has gone into this so far. So where do we even begin? Another classic for you. I'm really liking how this is turning out. Like, this is turning out better than I thought it was. Oh, we're cracking them all open, aren't we? I wonder if the foliage one's going to come out later. So I didn't think I was going to get much of the rock work done in the first part of the episode. I wanted to save it until the second part. But actually, as it turns out, I needed to work on all of the clearances because we're a very terrain-orientated coaster here, and I've got lots of close queues going on. So I just needed to check all of the clearances, and everything is now fine. We have a very, very, very close clearance here. This would be a ride that would have a maximum height limit to it, and this is just about okay. Your feet are, it's definitely a foot chopper moment, that's for sure, but it's a really good one. And I've never actually had the opportunity to use the Alpine and snow stuff together. I've never, in all of my time playing Planet Coaster, have I ever put the two together, and it actually works. Like, surprise, surprise, it actually works. And I only found this out because I did some stuff in Zoo the other day, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this would work in Planet Coaster. And yes, surprise, surprise, it does. Now, I do, of course, need to put all of the foliage and stuff in. And I'm not going to use the snow stuff because we wouldn't have a way of keeping that snowy in the UK, right? Unless it was scenery painted stuff. So actually, we would just have terrain work and rock work and be done with it, and then just let nature do the rest. And besides, I don't really want this to look any more like Alpine than it already is. It's already inspired by it. I don't want it to be a copy. I want it to be something very similar, right? So I've started to do all of the queue lines. I'm happy with how the queue lines are now sitting. So what I've tried to do is work with the original terrain of the hill that was here. Of course, I need to put some of the foliage back because I've just stripped it all the way back. There would still be trees and stuff that would still be existing in here that would still be around. So I need to keep all of those in. But the queue lines are actually pretty decent. I'm trying to do a little bit of a Nemesis Inferno stroke Nemesis vibe with the queue going on, with it wrapping around the ride. And of course, we've got the fencing here, which I've used numerous times on inverts because I just love this fencing. I have done a new version of it. This isn't the exact same one that I used in Chatterlandia because that one was slightly imperfect. So I've done a new, better version. But ultimately, that's spammed all the way across the queue. I don't know if I'm going to do queue line buildings. I think I probably should. I think there's probably space for one here, and it feels like there should be one here, and maybe one here, but I think it's probably too close to the main station building. But hey, it's okay, it's cool. I don't want to put the coaster through buildings. Again, I don't want it to be Alpengeist, and I don't think I've got the clearances to do that anyway. I mean, even if I did, this would be a bit of a location I could do it, or this along here. There aren't many other places I could do it, so I don't think I'm going to bother. So yeah, I've done quite a bit of custom supporting. In fact, I think this is now completely custom supported. It's absolutely needed. I didn't want to leave the in-game ones at all. So yeah, custom supported. Are they perfect? No. Are they representative of where they would be? Yeah, absolutely, and how they would be. And I've tried to mix up all of the supports that you would have. Ultimately, there are three different types of supports that you would use. You'd use the A-frame supports. You'd use the L-frame supports, which is this one here, and then you just use the I-frame supports that are here, right? So it's fine. It does what it needs to do. Like I say, is it perfect? No. Do I care? No. What else? So, main station building. This is coming together quite nicely. So this is going to be Alpine theme. This is kind of what I'm going for. I haven't done the spamming across yet because I just wanted to make sure I had one section that I was happy with and comfortable with. And then what I'll do is I'll just copy this across. Inside the station, there is absolutely no detailing at all done in here whatsoever. I don't know if I'm going to leave the wood, the ceiling exposed. I don't know if I'm going to do stuff in here. This is starting to feel like it might be a little bit too similar to the SLC that I put in Grosvenor Gardens. I don't want that. No, the STC, sorry, not the SLC, the STC. I don't think I want that. I don't want it to be a copy of that, so I don't know what the inside is here. I mean, I need to sleep on it and see what happens, right? But this is the outside of the building, and this is pretty much Alpine-y. This is as Alpine-y as I want to get, and then the front is as Alpine as I want to get. The thing that I've noticed with Alpine buildings is they have a lot of overhanging roofs, like a lot of overhanging roofs. So that's what we're going for here. And I also wanted it to sit on a stone base. The stone base seems to be the theme of the park, right? So everything that we've done has these rough stone bases. So I'm kind of keeping that consistent along this area. I've also done quite a bit of work in the maintenance area. So like I wouldn't normally do this sort of level of detail until the final bits because I love watching it come to life. But actually this was needed. I needed to know how the transfer track and stuff was going to be in. And of course it is just your typical transfer track. There is nothing special here. I haven't done any of the kitting out yet. There's no detail work. There's all sorts of stuff that needs doing. But this just sits nicely. Like the pebble work just finishes it off, I think. Yeah, I like it. And then inside here, I've just put the concrete floor down. And then this would just be another framework. I know that the B&M stations don't have track in them. I put track in them just because you know what I'm trying to achieve that way. I don't care. I just don't care. I really don't. And then the station building is just another copy, but a smaller copy of the... the maintenance building is a smaller copy of the station building that we've got going on here. It'll be a slightly different design, probably a little bit more low-key design. I don't really want it to be masses, but I just want it to be there on the sight line. And I have then also just decided in this part to have it a bit of a tunnel. This is a little bit inspired by Nemesis Inferno. No, but a little bit by Nemesis in the sense that on the final brake run you have the corkscrew that goes pretty much underneath it. So that's what I wanted here. But instead I've actually made this a tunnel just to give it a bit of get a bit of a love. I might put some steam and stuff in here actually because we are 2010, so this is very much in the realms of the possibility of what might happen. And likewise down here I might actually put some effects and some lighting effects and stuff in here because we are now in the realms of modern stuff. And then I've just put a fence down this side. Still got stuttering in the game, by the way. That's the game. That's not the PC. I mean, I can't even recode the game if I want to, so we'll have to just deal with it. There is some stuttering. So yeah, I've just put a fence down this way just to start to fence off the maintenance area for the rapids and then from the exit path. Of course, I'm going to put some foliage and stuff in here to hide that. And then we've got a maintenance service road that's going from this area here. Don't know whether I'm going to build a road that goes through this way. I need to see what that's going to happen, what's going to happen with that later on. So this is how it's looking from the top. Quite chuffed with how this is turning out so far. I'm quite excited to see how this is going to be finished. See you in a minute. Okay, yeah, sure. I didn't expect it to look like this at all, but I mean, foliage has definitely made it come to life, but so's everything else. It's absolutely perfect. I am so in love with this build. I'm going to take the rare opportunity to blow smoke up my own ass. I love this build, and thankfully it doesn't look too much like Alpine after all, so I love it. I mean, just look at the sightlines that we're getting from the park here. This is such a modern park take on stuff. When you think of the history that we've had with the park and all of the additions that we've had over time, this is definitely one of those top tier additions that the park would have made. And remember, this was a foresty hill at one point, and this is the perfect terrain project. I have nothing else to say other than I absolutely love this build. And I mean, like, even this plaza area, it's so open and so simple and so honest. Like, it's fine. let's do it all then, shall we? Because we'll start down here. I definitely forgot to add in the ride photo booth in the first update, so that's now in. That's done, dusted. There's nothing particularly special with it. It is what it is. You get what you get, right, with the ride photo booth. For some reason, I'm still getting the crash. I think it's the game. It can't be the system, so I'm still getting this weird crash trying to add photos in, so no, it's not there. But I have put the ride camera in. Where did I put it? It was quite early on, actually. There it is. There's the ride camera, so that's sitting pretty. This is the entrance area then. And the reason I want to talk about this is because in 2010 we had the Disability Act 2010 kick in. That now means that we are finally obliged to make things accessible for our disabled friends. So that's what we're starting to do here. I do need to go back and retrofit the entire park, but I don't have time to do that in this episode because I need to go and do actual work with my actual job that pays an actual wage. So I'll go and do that another time. And I also need to hold my hands up as well, because in last week's episode I completely forgot about this one, but in 2020, what am I trying to say, 2007, we had the smoking ban come in the UK, so we are now obliged to display in any enclosed spaces no smoking signs. So I do also need to go back and retrofit the park with all of those in all of the enclosed spaces, so I will go off and do that. But talking about the rest of the ride, I am so glad that I took the opportunity to custom support this, because just look at how it just makes this now come to life. It's just so there. And I love this rock and snow effect with the terrain, right? So this whole rock and snow stuff, and the fact that you can crop them into, or crop them into each other, and you can make it Z fight and all sorts. I love it. I absolutely love it. So the queue line, again, yeah, I'm totally here for it. I just chose concrete on this one. I didn't want to do any kind of textured pathway on this one. I just wanted concrete, and that's what we've done. And again, you get all of these awesome like sight lines here with the diagonals and stuff. I did decide to put the buildings in the queue line after all, so that's the first building, and then I have just spammed it across and copied it across to there, and also to here as well. And I'm so pleased that I took the opportunity to make this the queue rather than an access path, because it now means that you are forced to interact with the B&M sit down here. So this is the sort of sights that you're going to get. Let me just change the camera. Sights you're going to get from here, and you get some really awesome sights of both coasters going together, right? So this is I think my favourite area of the park, and the shame is it's right at the back and it's not going to get much foot traffic at all through here. It's just not going to happen because the game just doesn't register that this coaster exists, right? Even though it's a 1100 prestige. It is what it is. So this area here, I've touched up all of the foliage. I have added the foliage, and I've touched up the concrete work here. So this, of course, was a much higher, because the hill's much higher, but we've obviously taken the hill out, so we've now put that down here. So yes, we are all good. Lots of fencing and stuff going on, and then lots of foliage to bring it to life. I've gone for that whole Alpine style shrubbery, and when you're doing Alpine, you have to kind of choose whether you're going to go down Austrian, German, or Swiss. They are very different. They've got very different and subtle things. So I've gone down the Swiss route. I've got to get this right, because I originally went down the German, then I went down the Austrian, and I think I landed on Swiss. And this is that style here. So it's not Bavarian. This is very much Swiss cottage, and this is exactly what I wanted this to be. It doesn't need to be any more than this. It doesn't need any more eaves. It doesn't need anything like that. This is just the perfect building. It's spammed across with all the stuff, and yeah, it sits so nicely. It's a little bit Asian, isn't it? It's a little bit like Qin Dynasty style, but it's fine. It's no problem at all. Inside the station, I'm going to be honest, I hate it in here. I just did it and it's done, right? It's done for now. I'll come back and retrofit it, but ultimately what we've got in here is all of the usual stuff. We've got row numbers and stuff and push points and whatever. I'm not even going to spend time in there because I don't like it. It's as simple as that. Even though I love the build, and even though this is like one of my favourite builds of the park, I don't like it in there, and I don't know how to fix it, so I'm just going to leave it. So maintenance area. Oh, come on, camera. Maintenance area then. I love this bit. This just looks so good, especially like from down here. It's just perfect. It's like everything I wanted this to be. You've got this bit here that's going to be an absolute nightmare in the rain because you're going to get absolutely soaked when you're sat on the brake run. Not even sorry about that. And then you've got the transfer track that's sitting here. And then inside the actual building, I've just kitted it out with the usual maintenance area stuff that you would find. Keeping it nice and simple in here. Don't want this to be any more than this because it doesn't need to be any more than this. You tend to find that these areas are actually quite clear of clutter and stuff anyway. So that's what we've done. That's what we've done here. And then, of course, I have just done all the bits around the back here. I do want to come back and do some touching up work. I've got some foliage and stuff that I want to put in and possibly a perimeter fence around here. So that's going to be like the later episode that we're going to need to do. But yeah, that's all good from that side. Do you remember this little sign? It's too good to not crack open again. So Spike, if you're watching, thank you for this sign once again. So for those of you that don't know, fan of the channel Spike creates a lot of signs, custom signs for me because I just don't have the creativity or the patience to do stuff like this, and the stuff that he does is absolutely incredible. This was done for Chacholandia, for the Woody in there. I don't remember the name of the Woody. It's not important. And I thought, because we're dealing with the idea of mountainous and stuff, the bear came out. Now, granted, you don't find bears in Switzerland, which I don't think you do, but it's fine. Let's just cross over the theme and pretend it didn't happen. So I've put the bear in, but of course the ride itself doesn't have a name, so if you want to name it, comment below please. Just know that your name has to include something to do with a bear, and please don't call it Great Bear. Have an imagination. I didn't spend all of this time designing this coaster to call it the Great Bear. And so also the special effects and stuff are in here as well. So I've put all of the smoke and we've got all of the usual bits. So there's music and there's some lighting going on and whatever. And I just... what else can I say about this? Like, there's nothing more that needs to be said. I just absolutely love it. Look at it. Yes. And I'm sure someone's going to pick it apart. Someone's going to dislike the video. Someone's going to do something. And I don't care because I love this. So guys, thank you for getting to the end of the episode. I really, really appreciate it. As always, please leave a like, a comment, share, subscribe. Do the usual stuff. You know what to do. I reckon we speak no more. Let's go for a ride on this one. Next week is another coaster. I'm not telling you what though. Secret. Have a good week, guys. Speak to you next week. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.